first of all, not to bore you, because I know I'm talking to fellow, whoops, I went a little carried away, fellow astrologers here, so I don't need to drive this into the dirt, but it might be just nice to notice the 84-year cycle. To notice that we haven't had Uranus very long, 1781, like compared to, say, Jupiter or Venus or some of the standard guys, the data set is very small. We are, right, an ology. So we're a statistical science, okay? So that means that we correlate over a long period of time, longitudinal correlational, they call it, okay? So the longer you have data on an item, the more accurate your predictions can be. So we've only had data on this puppy since 1781, right? So compared to, say, Venus, right? We really don't have the same depth of understanding as with some of the other planets. Nevertheless, we're starting to catch on that he's a bit of a maverick, and it's quite neat that he is quote unquote married, as it were, to Gaia. Okay, that's the name we use for the Earth, and he spends about 7 years in a sign. Now you guys know about the retrograde cycles, so you know that's a bit of an average, but nevertheless. And then in mundane astrology, and I confess to you that I shamelessly took this lock, stock, and two smoking barrels straight from Deborah Holdings' excellent site, skyscript.co.uk, which I highly recommend, and you'll find my references at the back of the slide pack, okay? Rioting and outbreaks of political tension, right-wing political ideas, free market enterprise, and I love that it rules fascism. Like, shouldn't it rule like socialism? But no, fascism. And then individualism and freedom. But the thing about Uranus, right? The thing about Uranus is it's a square wave. It's not a, I find that really the vibe of most of the other planets is kind of like a sine wave. It kind of slowly goes up and then it slowly goes down again. But this baby, he's a square wave. So it's all the way up and then, so basically all the way on or all the way off. There's no middle ground with him. So either we're talking fascism or we're talking, you know, anarchism. Like, there's just nothing in between. Go Uranus. Okay, we have scientific breakthroughs, we have discoveries, we have separation, and good old explosions, anarchy, and nihilism. And there's your, if you check this at the back of the slide pack, you'll find that reference. What about Jupiter? Well, you guys know he takes 12 years to go around, but since he's one of the brightest objects in the sky, there's no discovery date. It's like the first person that looked up in the sky saw Jupiter. And I want you to get, I mean, most of you probably know this, but in case you don't, this is super important, okay? Jupiter is not a planet. He's really, really not. He's a jealous lesser sun. What am I saying? He's a gas giant, okay? If he, what's that expression? It could have been a contender. So Jupiter could have been a contender. If he could have only had enough material to get the speed up, you know, to get the juice up, he would have ignited himself and he would have gone on fire and he would be the sun, not the sun, okay? Which is, you know, kind of good news for us because we'd all be nuked. All the inner planets would be like gone. But astronomically, that's a simple truth about Jupiter. He wants desperately to be a sun. And those of us who've worked with him for any length of time know he's not just Santa Claus. Sometimes he's like the mob boss, right? So his name comes from the king of the gods, the Roman king of the gods, and he's Juno's husband. And since Juno is an asteroid / planetoid now, it's kind of a cool thing to know. And of course, 1 year per sign. And Jupiter rules. Now there's some cool stuff here. We all probably knew that it was to do with like courts and judging. The national religion, if you have such a thing. So I'm wondering if that means he rules hockey, you know, because that's totally Canada's national religion, right? The justice system, judges, barristers, national inquest, so any kind of national inquiry. And I'm curious whether that would include the like impeachment proceedings. And the nation's wealth, banks and bankers. And to me, that's the sweet spot, that bottom line there, right there. It's ruling the banks and bankers. So it's kind of cool that it's a 14-year cycle. So one's scooching around at 84 years to go around. The other one's zipping around at 12 years to go around. And so by the time Jupiter gets around again to catch up with Uranus, Uranus has moved on. And that's why you get, instead of a 12-year cycle, you get a 14-year cycle. So probably all stuff that you already know. But, you know, for the purposes of thoroughness, I felt obliged to lay that groundwork. So our conjunction, the particular cycle that we're in of this Jupiter-Uranus cycle, it started in 2010. The opposition was in 2017. And we're now in the waning trine. So we're coming back towards another conjunction. And that conjunction is going to be in 2023. Or actually there's three, because you know how it goes forward, then it goes backwards, then it goes forward. But anyway, you get the general idea. And the waning trine, so the idea is that we're almost done the cycle. So we've had the opening volleys, we've kind of come around, we've sort of come as far as we can come in this particular cycle, and now we're working our way back home again.